Hi there, I'm Tom Field. I'm Senior Vice President of Editorial with Information Security Media Group. I am here at ISMG Studio at the Gartner IAM event in Dallas. Topic of conversation is zero standing privilege at scale. Here to talk about it with me, welcome Kelsey Brazill, Product Marketing Director, and Neha Duggal, Chief Product Officer, both with P0 Security. Neha, Kelsey, thank you so much for taking time to join me here today.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
First question I have for you. Talk about how privilege access has evolved within this AI era, and where does P0 security fit in this new ecosystem?
Privileged access has evolved quite a bit over the last few decades even, right? I think privileged access is not a new concept. Privileged access management, the tooling has been around for 25 years now. Started with on-prem servers, where the problem was much more simple and confined. You had a bunch of on-prem infrastructure, you wanted to secure that. You put your privileged access controls in front of it in terms of vaults that you put in, and that was good. Cloud came about, that complicated stuff. You now had ephemeral sort of not only Linux like instances going up and down, but there were a lot of different cloud services that were now available. So privileged access has evolved. And now with agentic AI in picture, that's even sort of exploded, because now you're talking about agents trying to access not only the cloud resources, but your SaaS applications or infrastructure in the backend to do what they are, coded or developed to do. There's multiple different access pathways that exist now, where different identities, whether those are human, non-human, or agents, can actually access these resources. So fundamentally, what you're talking about, privileged access, the surface area, that's completely changed and evolved with, you know, evolving from just human identities to non-human identities to agentic AIs. And the access pathways have definitely exploded, which means, this whole landscape has massively changed in the last few years, and especially in the last year and a half with the adoption of GenAI.
What would you add to that, Kelsey?
I think what we're talking about in terms of privilege has fundamentally changed as well. In the picture that Neha painted of, back when CyberArk coined this term in 2005, it was really straightforward. There was a clean network boundary. You could, just have a pretty linear path to access. And it was all kind of done at that authentication layer. And now with the proliferation of systems and identities, it's really happening in those access paths. So it's really now about authorization more so than authentication.
And we didn't get it right then, and we're paying for it now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, you've made a new announcement about offering zero standing privilege at scale. What is the significance of this offering?
Yeah, zero standing privileges, I think, is an ambitious goal for most organizations. Everybody aspires to be there, but is not there yet. And there's two factors that contribute to that. One is essentially it's a complicated space. Now, as we were talking about, the explosion of access pathways, different sort of pieces of the puzzle along with your infrastructure, agentic AI, non-human identities accessing. It's a complicated problem to solve for. And the second issue is there are so many siloed tools in the market that are just looking at slivers of the problem. So there are tools that are just looking at human identities, non-human identities, or agentic applications. With this release, it's our attempt to bring all of that together, not only from the perspective of, hey, here is where your different identities are and what access they have, but how do you sort of automate policy to ensure that access is granted to any type of identities as and when it's needed? So sort of eliminating or at least minimizing the standing privileges that exist across an organization in a fashion that works for every type of identity, and ensuring that's automated. So not only do you have a perspective from a discovery and visibility, but then sort of taking action so you can automate and eliminate as much standing privileges that exist in the platform.
Anything you'd add to that, Kelsey?
I think what's exciting about it is that we're centralizing the full life cycle too. So you don't have a separate tool that's looking at discovery, to Neha's point, or putting policies in place. We have from discovery to posture to policy creation to enforcement. It's really like reinforcing itself and informing those different stages so that it's more tangible for people. It's not this ideology, it's a practical.
Now, are these the elements that the new module brings together? Or are there other things you would discuss?
Yeah, those are the essentially the elements, right? Elements like what do you need to achieve zero standing privileges? It starts with like, hey, I want to discover where standing privileges exist. Once you have that discovery mapped out into what is the risk associated with those standing privileges, it's essentially then helping customers move to a just-in-time model. And those are the different elements or modules of,
Okay.
as you can say, of this.
What are the pain points that you're helping your customers to address?
I think we've been talking about the pain points. The pain points are like, there are a lot of customers that we've spoken to that will talk about, hey, I have a PAM program in place, but most of our time is focused on managing shared credentials or shared accounts. And I don't want to be in that business anymore. Ideally, I want to only focus on access and provisioning access based on groups or based on projects that are going on. And I can't really focus on that with the legacy tools I have because my time is spent on shared credentials and vaults. So we want to take that pain away from customers, help them, hook into their identity, whatever IAM management tools they have today for authenticating an identity, and help sort of provision access that adheres to best security practices. So that's the pain point we're trying to solve for a customer, is eliminate those standing privileges by giving them that visibility and the tool set to automate a lot of this pain out of their systems today.
Anything you'd add to that, Kelsey?
I think, and a nuance there that we have kind of assumed, but I want to call out explicitly, is because we're doing all of this via API, we're taking away that heavy infrastructure that you'll see in legacy solutions. And that helps with operational burden, governance overhead. It just streamlines a lot of these things that end up taking on a life of their own in a lot of organizations.
And then a few minutes ago, you talked about how privileged access has evolved. I'd like to hear more about where P0 security fits in the ecosystem. And you are now offering as well first-party agentic controls. Would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, you're at the conference and everyone's talking about agentic AI. It would be remiss for anyone to not talk about it. But from our perspective, I think agentic is a new space. There's a lot of stuff that's happening with agentic adoption. The problem that we are trying to solve for is we want to extend PAM-like capabilities, access management capabilities onto the agentic world. And here we want to help our customers that are building first-party agents in-house in order to put guardrails around how that agent should operate. So agents have access to just the data they need to do their jobs without being a bottleneck, or like without access management becoming a bottleneck, but at the same time not giving them extra permissions to basically have access to keys to the kingdom. It's like the LLMs should have or the agents should have access to just what they need to get their jobs done. And that's what we're focused on. That's actually something that we launched last week as well, is those guardrails for agentic application.
Anything you'd add to that, Kelsey?
Yeah, we're excited. I think we're just focusing on what we know and not trying to boil the ocean. There's a lot of hype, so being really practical.
My understanding of P0 security, modernizing privileged access management is really the core of what you do. Where do you see PAM headed as we go into a new year?
Kelsey, you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah, I think we're seeing, like we started off saying, it was a game of authentication. We're talking about vaults and rotating credentials, and then moving on to bastions, shared accounts, things like that. The future of PAM, in our opinion, is focused on authorization. So one of our core methodologies is leveraging existing identity providers that a customer has. So whether that be Okta or Active Directory, whatever that may be, keeping that source of truth and that user identity intact, and focusing on the authorization instead. So that's really where we see things headed.
Excellent. Neha, any last words?
No, we just want to help our customers get to eliminate as many standing privileges as they have in the platform. And, we are doing everything we can across every identity we see across organizations to get to that in 2026. So that's what I'm most excited and looking forward to.
It's a huge challenge for your customers. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for taking time to speak with me about it.
Right. Thank you so much.
Again, we've been talking about privileged access manager. You heard from Neha Duggal and Kelsey Brazill, both with P0 Security for Information Security Media Group. I'm Tom Field. Thank you very much for giving us your time and attention today.